My spouse of 2 decades is having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. The author of the post is listed in the description. I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48M, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made 0 sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Update. I am divorcing my husband, I told my kids, and I spoke with Amy's mom. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18, 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic, physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Second story. My husband's growing jealousy towards our children is becoming alarming. Can our family and marriage be saved? My husband, 42M, and I, 35F, tried for so long to have our boys and girl. Due to a health issue my husband suffered, he developed fertility issues, and we had to get medical assistance to be able to have our children because if we didn't, he'd probably never have kids. So we went through fertility treatment. He desperately wanted his own biological children, and we spent a fortune just to bring them into the world. And now he's jealous and distant with them? He's constantly in competition with his own infant children. If I hold the children, he gets frustrated. Anytime they take my attention away, he gets completely pissy. He's always in a foul mood, irritable, and just downright nasty. I don't understand it. Why is he like this? Our children are barely 6 months and they won't stop crying every time he's near. I feel like they can sense his negativity. I tried talking to him. I've suggested he take interest in the kids and spend more time with us as a family. I know it can sometimes take a little longer for parents to bond with their children, but this is downright scary to experience. He's full of jealousy and envy. He sees our children as competition to my time and affections. A few times now he has made comments about feeling frustrated that I still breastfeed our children. The thing is, we mix feed, so he has had ample opportunity to feed them, and he just doesn't. He also said that this, meaning our life and our marriage after children, wasn't what he thought it would be like. I mean, what did he expect? A singular baby cries, and 3 of them cry a lot. We've been together for 8 years and married for 7 years. He wanted these children. He pushed for them, and now this. I never thought this would ever be me. I am scared. I am scared for my children. I have tried talking to him, but he just brushes me off. I've suggested counseling. He refuses. He tells me it's all in my head. I want to save this marriage, but I am scared I won't be able to, and maybe it's not worth saving. He comes home later every day. He avoids us on the weekends and any time he has off. I'm not ashamed to say that I went through his phone, and there are a lot flirtatious texts between him and a Jessica. I don't think anything has happened between them, but it sure looks like they are building up to it. I haven't said anything because I'm afraid. Where do I go with 3 children, with no money and no family that can help me? I haven't worked in 2 years, and I've spent all my savings on having these children. My mind is in a complete meltdown. I can't sleep, I can't think, and I'm always exhausted. What the hell happened? Is this him now forever? Edit. Some of you are some real evil bastards. Stop blaming me for him mistreating me. I do not deserve to be treated this way, and neither do my kids. Stop messaging me evil things. Relevant comments. Examples of competition. If I'm with the kids and say I'm feeding them, he gets upset I'm focusing on them and not him. Or as he likes to say, I'm fussing over them. He expects they sleep through the night and gets upset when I'm with them instead of in bed with him. He has even made weird comments about me loving them more than him. Did he really want kids, or did you want kids? Due to my husband's fertility issues, he was the one pushing for us to have kids. He knew early on that he had a health condition and wanted us to have children way earlier, but I asked if we could wait. But then his condition worsened, so we agreed to get treatment before he couldn't have any kids. He desperately wanted to be a father, and they are biologically ours. His desire to be a father was one of the qualities I liked about him when we started dating. I've always worked, and the plan was for me to stay home for the first 2-3 years and perhaps work part-time until the kids were school-aged. But that's out the window now because I don't want to ever be this vulnerable. I've been brushing off my CV and scouring the internet for a job. I will never allow myself to be this vulnerable again. Does he help at all? Do you have a support system you could go to? He doesn't help me at all. I take care of our kids on my own. My parents are long gone and my sister is abroad. She stayed with us for the birth and a month after the children were born. She lives in France, but she's due to return home this summer. So I know I'll have her help when she's back. But I'm trying not to bother her as she's going through a divorce. I've suggested couples counseling, and he refuses. He says everything is in my head. I'm actually even crying writing this, but I do have a small to-go bag in the trunk of my car, just in case. I feel like I'm not being rational because he doesn't hurt me or the kids, but I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells. Like, what happened to my happy-go-lucky husband? Who's this person I'm afraid of? Are they his biologically? Did you guys go to a support group for infertility treatment? We didn't use any sperm or egg donations. The kids are his and mine biologically. We also went to a support group, 2 support groups actually. One of them was for couples and the other for men experiencing infertility. He also went to individual therapy to deal with his emotional issues around infertility. Update. Title: He's 42M been pinching my 35F babies. Thank you to the person who said I should watch his interactions with my babies more closely and frequently. Not even hours after I posted here asking for advice, I caught him pinching my son. While I was scrolling on here and replying to people, I decided to check my baby monitor, and I watched my husband enter our children's room and insult them in a hushed and whispery tone. I couldn't make out much of what he was saying, but he was without a doubt telling them that he hated them and wished them dead. Then he pinched my son, and my baby boy didn't even cry, which made me think he's done this many times before. It all happened so fast, and by the time I could make sense of what was happening on the monitor, he was already walking down the hallway and down the stairs. At the same time, I had leapt off the sofa and pretty much tackled him as he came off the stairs. We got into a physical and verbal altercation. We fought, argued, and shouted for hours. I guess the police were called by the neighbors because the next thing I know, the police are banging on my door. I explained the situation to the police, and the officers said that they could not prove that my baby was harmed since he didn't have a bruise, and my baby monitor was only on live feed and not simultaneously recording. Eventually, they got my husband to agree to pack a bag and leave. He left reluctantly. He has since been blowing up my phone, begging for forgiveness, talking about how he's been depressed and stressed by the babies, and that his anxiety and jealousy got the best of him. I just responded once, telling him to go fuck himself. I've also been in contact with a lawyer, and she's advised me to leave him unblocked in case he further incriminates himself. I don't even recognize who this man is. Where did this all come from? How did this happen? Has any other parent experienced this? How did you handle this? Before y'all start jumping down my throat, I am absolutely getting a divorce, and I will do everything in my power to get full custody. I did take my children to our family doctor, and they are in good health, and there are no other signs of abuse. I filled a report with the police, and my lawyer is dealing with it. I'm also about to start the process of divorce. Relevant comments. Commenter: he just wants more and better access to his victims. This is someone who gets off on hurting children. Actual human beings who are stressed and depressed do not sneak around abusing children for their dopamine hits. OP. Exactly. I'm tired, stressed, depressed, and I'm physically still not fully healed from the pregnancy and the cesarean birth, but not once have I thought of hurting anyone, let alone a baby. I don't buy his bullshit excuses. He clearly knew what he was doing was wrong, otherwise he wouldn't have been sneaking around and being all hush-hush. I do not believe him for 1 second. He's a goddamn beastly man. Update the monitor to one that records. I've set the monitor up to record now. I've also ordered a home security system and will be installing it real soon. On what OUP is doing to protect them, I'm doing everything I can to protect them. This all happened a few days ago, but I am in the process of getting a temporary restraining order. My lawyer is handling it, and I understand it takes some time to actually get one. And in the meantime, I've been advised that I can just deny him visitation until he gets a judgment from the courts that forces me to grant him access to my babies, but that takes time. So in the meantime, he can't force me or my babies to see him. I've recorded every call and saved every text, literally documenting everything. Thankfully, he's saying and texting a gold mine of incriminating things that I hope would be sufficient information for a judge to give me and my babies a restraining protective order and for family court to grant me primary and sole custody. Did you tell him you saw the pinch? Yes. He at first told me I was imagining things, then switched to saying he was just frustrated our son wouldn't go to sleep. Then he started saying that he was angry that our son was interrupting our personal time, and that he was doing it on purpose because the other babies were asleep, so why wasn't he? Honestly, nothing he says makes sense to me. Like my baby boy was just laying there sleepy and he would have fallen back to sleep by himself. That bastard actually woke him up with his pinching and insults. He says he went in their room to check up on them, and I call bullshit on that he went in there to torment my children. Who in their right mind whispers death to 2 sleeping babies and another half-asleep baby? Did he tell you that over phone or text? This was on a call which I've recorded. Third story, Ita. For telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully. So my 16M mom 40s is a teacher at my school. Our school has a special elective you can take, which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave, 17EM, to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly, both physically and emotionally, since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspensions on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school, I haven't had to see him as much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why would she want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible? She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid. But he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for kids who come from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things he had done to me, and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish, and some kids have it harder than I can imagine, and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would not longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her, and the minute I turned 18, I was moving out, and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies. And I have to come home from school and go straight to my room and am not allowed out except dinner until I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day, silently until I'm 18, and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming in crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me feel kind of bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed. Update. I'm sorry I stopped answering everyone's questions. I just kind of freaked out when this blew up out of nowhere, and I almost deleted it a few times because I was scared someone at school would see it and recognize me. Everyone letting me know that it's not my fault helped a lot, though, so I felt less embarrassed about someone I know potentially seeing it. Nothing has really changed, but a lot of you made a good point that if I'm really going to go this route, then I need to come up with a plan for what I'm going to do when I get out. I considered the military, like some people suggested, but then I remembered my school has a special trade program. You go to our school for half a day, then spend the other half at our local community college taking trade classes. I think depending on what you are doing, you can get an associate's degree or whatever certifications you need by the time you graduate. I went to my guidance counselor during lunch today and told her I wanted to switch to that program. She acted really surprised and asked why did I want to change now since I'm already taking AP classes and am on the college track. I told her I didn't want to talk about it, but I would need to be ready for independence when I graduated, and this seemed like the best way. She said it might be too late to change this semester, but she would look into it for me and let me know. Update. To everyone who said my mom was sleeping with Dave, you were right. Just kidding. Y'all are weirdos and watch too much porn. A lot has actually happened since last week, and while nothing is really fixed, I think things are going in the right direction. On Friday, I got called out of class to the guidance counselor. When I got there, my mom and the assistant principal were there as well. The counselor asked me to sit down and said that me changing tracks from college to trade, like I mentioned in my last post, was a big decision, and she wanted to sit down with my mom and me to figure out if this really was the best for my future. She first asked me if I would fully explain why I wanted to switch. I explained the whole situation from my perspective and about how I was being punished. I said that if this is how I was going to be treated from now on, I wanted to become independent as soon as possible, and going to college would have me relying on my parents for longer than I would like. She then asked my mom if she had anything she would like to add. My mom tried to downplay the who situation at first and make it look like I was just being stubborn and disrespectful, but as the counselor asked her more questions, it became pretty clear that my side was truth. After this, the AP stepped in and said that a teacher's aide was not worth all of this turmoil and that Dave would be switched with another teacher. The counselor then asked me if this would help me to start working things out with my mom. I said not really because it wasn't even her choice, and she hasn't even admitted she's done anything wrong. She then asked my mom if she was willing to apologize for anything that had happened. My mom gave a half-hearted apology where she said things had gone overboard, and she never meant to hurt me so much. The counselor asked if I would like to apologize for anything as well, and I said not really, but nobody pressed me on it. The counselor then said about my transfer, it was too late for this semester. What she suggested is that my mom and I and possibly my dad should go to a family counselor for the rest of the semester. I would stay in my current classes, my parents would give me all my stuff back, and we could see if we can come to some kind of peace before next semester. She then asked my mom that if after that I still had not changed my mind, would she accept the class changes? My mom said no at first because she wanted me to go to college, but I told her that she had already failed me as a mother once. Please don't do it again. She got really quiet and said she would agree to it if that was what I really wanted. When I got home, all my stuff was returned to me. I also started talking to my mom again. I just kind of felt like there wasn't a point to ignoring her anymore. I don't treat her like a mother or anything anymore, but I'll answer her if she asks me a question. It just feels like that now that I have a plan. A lot of my anger is gone, and I just see her as a person who happens to live in my house. We haven't scheduled our first counseling session yet, but I don't see it changing much anyway. The damage is done, so I don't see myself changing my mind. That's pretty much it. I probably won't update again unless something crazy happens or something. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.